All right. Good evening, everybody. It's February 11th, and this is a certification call. And Norma was kind enough to volunteer this evening to do our grounding, balancing, centering, whatever she wants to call it. So
Okay.
turn it over to you, Norma.
Okay. Hi, Liz.
Hi.
She jumped in just in time. Okay, so this is a compilation of several that I've types of groundings that I've learned over the years. So here goes. I just want everybody to connect with their inner light up in your head. And I want you to send this light 100, 200, 300 feet up, like a big cone or a big channel up into the upper reaches. I always call it heaven, but you can call it whatever you want. And when you connect with the light from above, with your own light, I want you to bring the light from above down through the top of your head. And I want you to feel it way down into your heart space, all the way down both legs, into the bottom of your feet. And we're going to drive it down to the center of Mother Earth. And that takes all your negative out, dumps it in Mother Earth where it can be transmuted. And in a few minutes, I want you to feel that bouncy feeling on the bottoms of your feet from way down in Mother Earth. And you're gonna start to feel the Mother Earth energy come back up through the soles of your feet, all the way up and camp out in your heart space. You're now connected from the light above and the light below. And then we're going to take this energy from our heart space and kick it out 360 degrees around us, all the way up to the moon and the stars. And we ask the universe to bring with that all the people, places, things, events, ideas, opportunities, vibrations, and energies to help us. And you can say what you want to say, fill in here with what you want. Just ask the universe for what you want. Put your intention out there. And now we're going to take and do the hook. You guys know the hookup, but you put your hands out in front of you, clasp them, pull them in and up, and then cross your feet at the ankles. And I like to pair this with heart breathing. I don't know if everybody knows how to heart breathe, but basically you pretend that your heart space is the vent through which you breathe in and out, nice and slow and deep. And when you're ready, you can unhook and be ready for learning.
Thank you so much, Norma.
You're welcome. A lot of that is Christy Marie Sheldon, so I'm not trying to steal her thunder.
Yeah, there are so many ways to ground and balance and breathe, and very good. And welcome, Diana. Welcome, Liz. So let's see, we're just missing Mary, and she might join us later. So for check-in tonight, I thought let's keep it simple. I want to start talking about limiting beliefs a little bit tonight, because when you get into your 4-session sheet, you're asked to, start exploring beliefs with clients. And also, as we get into next month, you will be working on your own limiting beliefs and your personal peace procedure. That's one of your jobs as you work with another practitioner. And so I thought we might as well just begin it tonight in terms of discussion, in case you're feeling a little rusty on the topic of limiting beliefs. I think the kind of beliefs that you want to be thinking about tonight, because I'm going to ask you to share at least one limiting belief, and let's make it a core belief. So what's different about a limiting belief and a core belief? A core belief I would say is one that has developed before you were the age of 8, probably. Or it could be a belief that's just been with you forever. And those can be the kind of things that are dropped down to you from an authority figure. They can be good beliefs too, but in this case, we're going to talk about the ones that might be a little detrimental or mixing us up or keeping us from our most pleasant desired state. So does that make sense to you? So, think about being a first grader and maybe you can even remember being a first grader, and there might have been some things going on around you. There might have been a parent that told you to be quiet. That's one I've heard quite often. Somebody who doesn't use their voice and doesn't speak up because someone told them to be quiet, and that belief is it's safer to be quiet, or it's dangerous to speak up. I guess that's the other side of it. It can be dangerous to speak my truth. It can be dangerous to say anything. It can be dangerous to speak in front of others. So that would be an example. And I know Vicki had a case about that she'll probably talk about later, about somebody who was low on confidence. And there's probably some events, some scenes, some important people in the past that might have set that person up for some difficulty with respect to a core belief that is affecting life today. Okay? So as we go around, one word to summarize what you need tonight. So give that some thought. And if it requires a little more explaining, you can explain it too. And then one limiting belief that you or your clients have recently reflected about that you can just share with the group, because I think I just want us to get some thoughts going on limiting beliefs. So let's see, who's not muted right now? Let's go with Sherry, because she's not muted. And so you want to start for us?
Yeah, so one word to summarize what I need tonight, is that what we're starting with?
Yeah.
Just to clarify. And that's it, clarity. Clarity and encouragement. I have two actually, and clarity on completing my vision of completing this program. So I think I'm kind of in a muddled area right now where I just kind of don't see the end, and I'm kind of, I feel like I'm just scratching the surface and not where I need to be. So clarity and encouragement.
Okay. And any limiting belief you've been exposed to, or that could go right back to your need for clarity and encouragement, but
yeah. No, just in some of my work that I've done on myself, something came up with money, and I'm not sure. I don't even know what it is. I don't know if it's that I'm not good with money, or that I don't deserve to make a decent salary. And I think some of that comes from growing up. We didn't have a lot of money. We had everything we needed, but we didn't, nothing extravagant. So, and that's just work with myself that I've been kind of discovering about myself, that maybe, like I said, there's two things. I'm not good with money, and maybe I'm not deserving of it.
Okay. Well, I hope you'll continue working on that. We all can be good and deserving. All right. Let's move it over to Norma next. I'm trying to get you in the order you came on the call.
Okay. My biggest limiting belief right now is, I don't know, that there's never enough time. And that pertains to my focus on, completing this class and getting all my session notes into you. So there's been some procrastination, but it's mostly that I literally don't have much time because I'm dealing with all the house issues, and I have to go to a laundromat twice a week and spend about 8 hours there. And it's a nice laundromat, but it's not that great. But on the upside of that, I just ordered a set of a washer dryer set for our apartment. So, but it'll be here in about 3 weeks. settle for just the lack of focus, and there's just never enough time.
Yeah.
And I can parrot what Sherry just said about money. I grew up in a house where my parents were always struggling because my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and I heard that over and over again as a child. And I still, I've worked on it quite a bit, and I think I've kind of gotten past it, but there are times when I still feel that way. So clearly some of it's still there. And, you know, it's detrimental because you also, I think, like Sherry said, it also comes with other realizations about money or things that you've heard, is that, you know, maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe I'm not good with money, or I can't keep the money that I make or whatever. But yeah, I got some good ones around money.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a lack of money, it's basically what I do with it.
Okay. And one word for what you need from this call tonight.
Oh, the focus.
Okay. Good.
Big time focus.
Yeah. All right. We'll help you focus. All right, Vicki, you're up.
What I need, I guess, from the group is just to be. It was a really, really busy week last week, and it was nice to have a day off today where I just did laundry and kind of more mindless things. And I'm also, I guess, on a personal level, dealing with boundary issues. So sometimes I think I get confused between empathy and knowing where to set my boundaries.
And so is that what was that your comment with respect to beliefs then, or did you have a comment on beliefs?
Core beliefs, Betsy?
Yeah, and this doesn't have to necessarily be yours, but maybe a core belief that you've worked with somebody else lately too. We just want to bring a few up into the discussion.
Well, I think it's just the core belief maybe is that it's not okay to set your own boundaries. Maybe that your boundaries are dependent on what other people, you know?
Uh-huh.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Okay. My boundaries depend on other people, on other people's needs. Oh, yeah. Is that really kind of what you mean, or that?
Sounds awful, doesn't it?
Well, I'm just trying to make sure I'm understanding.
No, and that's why I think that the confusion for I think well, I think I see this with so many of my colleagues and caregivers, you know, and I can remember well, this is a belief actually that I heard my mother say as a little girl, you know, as when I was a little girl, is if you give something to somebody, it doesn't count unless it hurts.
Ooh. Oh.
Yeah, if you give something and it's easy to give, it's not as you know, great as if you give till it hurts, you know.
Ooh, okay. That's an unpleasant one, isn't it?
But yeah.
That's what so many people do. Like they give till they're worn out or there's nothing left to give. Yeah. Interesting. All right. Well, maybe that's one you wanna polish up a little bit. And you know, there's a reframe to that. Right? There is another side to that. So keep exploring what might have been. All right, Liz, are you back from Florida?
I am. I had a wonderful time. That was last week that I got back last Sunday. So yes, it was fabulous.
It looked awesome, amazing.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah. So what do you need from the call tonight, and what do you have to say about a core belief?
I could go with, Norma and Sherry both said things that I wrote down already. before the call about clarity and focus and kind of like unsure of myself. I feel I'm also working on getting my business up and running, even though, I'm not certified yet. And I'm doing my website right now and my logo and trying to put content on the website. And I'm like really unsure of what I'm doing. I'm like, I don't even feel like I know enough to even write the content on the website. I'm like referring to other stuff on the internet and thinking, what am I doing? And I'm real wishy-washy about the logo design. Like I can design logos for anyone else and, very easily. And then that's when it comes to myself, I can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel very unsure of myself. And the thing that I wrote down for my core belief is that you can't, can't be successful is really what comes to my mind. My father, I remember him saying when I was very young, you can't make any money being an artist. You can't make any money. You need to be in a field, in a math related field. And math is my worst subject ever. So I just feel, I don't know, the lack of self-esteem or, that I can't be successful. I can't make money doing this. So kind of, it also goes with what Sherry and Norma said about the money, like you can't.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to go back to my personal peace procedure and see if that stuff's down there. But, I have worked a lot with money issues.
Right. And one of the things you can do is if you can't find a specific event to go with that belief, you can write a story about what you think might have been. Because, as children, we forget details. It could have played out different in reality, but you can write a story and you can actually, after you do your tapping on it, write a new story too about a different ending.
Right.
Story or a different way things worked out. So that's a possibility. And again, those thoughts and feelings are very normal. In fact, I just redid my websites and I remember also having those feelings, and I've had a practice since 2005. And, all I can say to you is it feels like you're exposing yourself.
Yeah.
Go out there and put things out on the web, and it seems so permanent.
Yeah, like the bio section, I have like an about section, and I didn't even know I had like one line, and I thought, what am I even doing? Like,
maybe, again, this might be a buddy exercise to do with another person in certification. And, as a graphic designer, if you're having trouble doing your own logo, maybe you need to buddy up with the graphic designer and say, hey, I'll do something for you if you do something for me. It's, I always had a hard time writing my own, writing things about, just marketing my business and press releases. That's an example. Press releases, I was never comfortable tooting my own horn, so I paid other people to write them because they could make me sound so much better than I could say. Right. So, you might consider doing that, but also do your research. When I redid my website, I looked at websites of people that I admire, leaders in the field.
Right. That's what I've been doing. But then I feel like, I'd be,
Well, you don't use the exact same words.
Use the exact words, I know, but it's just like, I don't know. I'm having a hard time coming up with anything. My husband's going to help me a little bit, but I don't know. Maybe I should tap on that too. I'm working with Joan Kaler for my my personal thing, and I'm tapping with her tomorrow. So
good. I didn't know she still took private clients, so she's great.
I reached out to her and said, I knew of her before I even knew of you, because I saw her on the web when I was doing search and stuff like that. So, she's pretty well known, and she was friends with you on Facebook, and I thought, well, maybe she'll take my friend request, and she did. And then I wrote to her, and she was really nice, and I love her. I already had one session with her last week, and she's so great.
Good.
So
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Okay. Well, Diana, we didn't forget you down there. So what's going on with you?
Oh,
My
well,
beliefs.
one word I need is sun. I'm not adapting to winter at all anymore. First couple months, oh, this is cool. Absolutely, no, it's not cool in February anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But also my other thing though from here is just a little more focus. I just need to get. I'm a little scattered, and just to get a little more focus would be my other thing.
Okay.
And my core belief actually is. When I was in first grade, my grandmother died, and my mom kind of checked out for a while, and I was always told I can do it myself, and so that translated later on into I don't need help. So that has always been like a big thing, is asking for help when I need it.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting, and so you're starting to see how these beliefs can take over. They get roots, and then they start running the software.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But part of it is awareness of it, and then the decision. If I had a choice, what would I change this to? And is there something good about it? But also, what part of it is holding me back or getting in the way? So those beliefs can be molded and shaped to work in your favor. All right. So, I'm wondering, so I hear a lot of stuff about focus, clarity, and getting done with your certification. So I gave a few of you this week through our Facebook page, some buddies from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Is that working? Have they gotten back in touch with you?
No.
I have a call set up for, I think it's next week. It's sometime next week.
Okay.
With Tanis is her name. And so I will be the practitioner and she will be the client.
Yeah.
And she already filled out the form for me and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that is working so far.
Mm-hmm. Good. And I mean, when we take on these buddy sessions with other people, we got to be able to give what we receive, which I understand will take time too. Now, one of your, you are a client in your sheets, okay, when you're keeping track of your cases. So I hope that makes you feel better. And if you really end up spending a lot of time helping other people out as a client, I might take appeals to call more than 4 sessions part of your 50 sessions, because you do learn by being a client. I'm open to that possibility. I really, I want you to get as many clients working with you as possible. But the work you do on yourself is really important. So if you want to appeal to me about that, especially, if you're doing some deep personal work, that is what's good for everybody. Okay.
Betsy, when we work with other students, do we use the partner form that we had when we were in EF2, EFT2, or do we use?
You should all be using the 4-session form now.
Okay.
Okay. And even if you don't do all 4 sessions, I want you starting to use that form, because I want you to really be fleshing out the background of the person a little bit more. That wheel of where they're at in terms of life balance. That's really important, to think of them as a whole person. And we might as well get into the discussion of coaching right now, because we haven't really gone too deep into coaching. Some of you have taken other training about what a coach is and how coaches are different than therapists. But in our case, we're kind of specialists, because we bring the specialty of EFT into the situation, but we're mostly coaches. And a coach, the philosophy is you assume the person is whole, that they're not messed up, okay? and that they're simply needing a few more ideas, resources, and in this case, EFT is a resource. But we don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with them. They're doing the best they can, and we're there to help them find their way with everything they already have, you know? So as you work with people with the 4-session form, it should become more apparent that you're being a detective, you're looking at the bigger picture for them and helping them solve their own problem, okay? Helping them see their insights too as they tap. So our role is to point some things out, but not to tell them what to do, all right? Unless we have some real experience that could kick in. Now, sometimes people need to be guided. So you may, I just say on my forms that I will be firm with people if they need redirection, like if they're not doing homework, that's a moment to have a conversation. Is it the kind of homework? Is there something else going on? Even the discussion about whether they're willing to do homework, okay? Because we want to work with them where they are. We're not going to push where they're going to resist. Our timing is important, and just the context of how we work with them based on who they are, what they need, okay? So I hope as you work with that form, you'll get some insights on coaching a person from their current state into a desired state and how you help blend that with their entire their life and what they want. It's not about what we want. So we always have to listen to, what do you want? What are you creating? What is this perfect or more perfect situation that you're looking for? Okay? So it's not about what we think is best for them. We don't get to be their parents. And you think about parenting, boy, it doesn't always go real well either, does it? When we try to be a coach, but they don't always see it that way, right? So any other thoughts on that, or the form too? Liz did a great job. If you take a look at the form she posted from the session she had, and I'm sure she's going to talk with us about that, but nice job getting the key data on your form, Liz. Did anybody else? I don't think I saw anybody else post one of those forms yet. Am I missing something? So even if you're doing single cases, I want to start seeing that form get used, because that's going to give you more perspective in working with your client, fleshing that out, okay? Just didn't want to scare you too soon with the other form. And I will tell you, Nancy's people use this very similar form for their 4-session cases. So when they give you a form or ask you questions, you'll not be surprised at all, okay?
I haven't heard back from my person, Patricia. Last Wednesday, Nancy emailed me, and so did Patricia, and I answered and never heard anything back. And then I reached out again Sunday and still haven't heard anything. So I don't know. I sent her the intake form and the consent form, and then nothing. So I don't know what happened with that.
Maybe I don't know, because some of Nancy's people, I know Nancy was saying that some of them are feeling, a little uncertain, like you guys, they're not feeling real strong yet either, and working with a stranger from the first time rather than somebody can be terrifying. But at the same time, it's liberating too, because you don't have any pre-existing information about that person, and you get to start at the start. Yeah And you really get to be the detective from start to finish, instead of, I don't know, having too much information going in. You can get it. You can ask the questions. You can get to know them. And that's part of the challenge. Okay. Any other comments, questions?
No, I got to talk to my person today, Sandra, and we've got 4 things set up with her. She wanted to go first. She's really uncertain. She actually signed up for 1 and 2 just for her own personal benefit.
Uh-huh.
And now is looking at it as something else to do as a, so she's having a hard time transitioning that. And they've been talking a lot about marketing and things. So that's kind of flipped her out a little bit.
Yeah. And so let me remember, is she the one that's asking you to be a client for her, or are you?
No, she wants me to be the practitioner.
Okay. Well, good. I hope it goes well.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. So I put just something to finish up our discussion on ethics here, because I had put a question on there about, have you encountered an ethical concern as a student? Or did you think of anything that you wondered about with respect to ethics before? I mean, we're always going to be talking about ethics probably, because things might come up, but any guidance you guys need before we move on to cases? Norma?
Yeah. I don't know if this is strictly an ethics issue, but I have members that would like to work with me. And so I've tried to ask them nicely if I could let them work with someone I know, for example, someone here, and they insist on working with me. And I mean, with a couple of them, I feel like that would be a really bad compromise just because of my relationship with them. But other ones, I'm, like with my daughters, I'm very comfortable working with them and actually having a lot of fun, and they're having a lot of fun and getting some good results. And, but yeah, so I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if that's really an ethical question.
Neighbors? Is that what you said?
I'm sorry?
Did you say neighbors? It cut out when you were.
It's, no, not neighbors, but family members, kind of extended family members.
Yeah.
Not people who live here with, in the same town, or that I see very often. And I don't know, I feel like I'm okay to do it, but I kind of, I think they want to see me. It's going to be free. And then I tell them it's not free. Because, I don't know about you guys, but I go by the rule that really, if something is free, people don't tend to value it.
Yeah,
and so they will bail out. They won't finish the 5 sessions or whatever they plan to do with you. So yeah, I feel like I'm actually, I don't know. I think it's a compromise for me to work to them, for me to work with them, but yet they're not willing to reach out to another practitioner, and they need the help.
Yeah. So ethically, I mean, this is your decision to make. As
I know, but
students, for all of you guys, if you need the clients and you've got a ready family member, I'd go ahead and do it. And when you write up the cases, if you find it problematic, it can be a great education about future relationships, working as a coach with your family. So I think it can be a learning experience. On the other hand, if you've got plenty of clients to work with and you're not, struggling to get that last, 5 to 8 sessions in, I would refer them on. So, it's really, it's a matter of your preference, and it can get difficult with the confidentiality too, because you know too much, their people, and actually they may not trust that you'll really keep the confidentiality if your family's.
I haven't had problems with them feeling that way, or if they have, because they're the ones pursuing working with me. And I'm the one saying, hey, I know a bunch of great practitioners that you could work with, and it might be more comfortable for you to work with somebody, that you don't know.
Yeah.
But,
and I think also the other thing is, you exuding confidence about the person you're sending them to. Because people always want to work with the known entity, the one they're going to feel more comfortable with.
Yeah.
And, so you got to create that bridge.
Yeah.
And that may help. It just tests to see how bad they really want it to.
Yeah.
Because you want people that want to work with you. You don't want to work with those reluctant you know,
Right.
your classmates don't want relatives that are kicking and dragging.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, working with my daughters is fine. They know the drill. They've been around it for 8 years.
Yeah.
But, like my mother-in-law, oh God, there is no way I'm working with her.
Just
Yeah, not happening.
anybody else have anything to say about
And
that?
I will not push her off on any of you, I
No,
promise.
I was going to say, who wants Norma's mother-in-law?
Oh my God, no.
Well,
No.
Mary's not on the call. Maybe we could get.
Can you spell narcissist?
Yeah.
No,
Oh, I have lots of experience with that.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Did you enjoy those kind of clients?
I do not.
No, nobody wants them, and they're probably very unlikely to be in transformation mode unless something big happens. So
Mhm.
yeah. All right. Any other questions or cases or situations, or even something you read in the book that you had a question about?
You know what? I have one quick thing. My husband's aunt, his mom's sister, just got diagnosed with breast cancer, and I've been talking to my mother-in-law on the phone about it. You know, it's her sister, and they're very close, and she's had all kinds of really bad problems her whole life with her health. I mean, very bad problems. So this is just like, you know, it's just awful. But I mentioned to my mother-in-law if she would be willing to do some tapping about it, that I would be happy to, do anything to help her out. And then I got off the phone and thought, I don't know what to do. So I watched a couple of YouTube sessions about, one of them was with Nick Ortner, tapping and doing a live conference with a woman who had gone through cancer and how that worked out. And that helped. But do you have any other suggestions? And I don't know that she'll even contact me, but.
So it really is up to her. I mean, I think it would be very nice if you've already jumped and said that you might want to help her. There's so much just in the physical symptom side that you could bring relief, and then peace of mind, sleep. But she has to want it. If
Right.
she's reluctant, if she doesn't really believe in it, sometimes people are so scared with that diagnosis, they're not ready to reach out and do anything. Plus, they've got a zillion appointments. So I
Right.
think really, the ball's in her court. In that kind of situation, there's so much you could do to help, but she's going to need to want it. I mean, it sounds like you get along with her okay, or you feel comfortable with her.
I have met her one time in my married life. Hey, Mary.
Mhm.
And my husband did talk to her though, and mentioned to her that I was getting trained to do this. And she said, "Oh, I have all these holistic doctors. I would totally be into this." So, I mean, I think it might happen at some point. She's still in the diagnosing type stages of this. So she doesn't even know, it's in her breast. She doesn't know what type it is, how, or anything. So, I don't think she's in any physical pain regarding this, but I know she's in physical pain from other issues. So, I don't know. It's kind of, after I offered it, I thought, oh geez, what did I just get myself into? Because I don't have any experience with tapping with someone that has cancer or, pain I can do.
Well, and Liz, really it's about what she brings to a session too,
Right.
because it may not be what you think is bugging her. It may be something the doctor said that she's just so stressed about, or it
Right.
might be something that she read about breast cancer years ago that she can't get out of her mind. So it's hard to, again, it's a client-led session.
I don't know what to expect. And I thought, am I getting over my head here because I'm offering?
No, I think you'll know when you are over your head. In this case, if she wants to work with you, I think you need to listen to find out what her needs and expectations are. but certainly you could give her a hand.
Okay.
But she needs to want it. She needs to value it too, because you've done something kind to help her out.
Yeah.
Any other comments, thoughts from the rest of you on Liz's situation? Would you take it, or would you cast it to someone else?
My friend, one of my best friends in Georgia, just went through all that last year. And so, like, the initial part was that I think if I was tapping with her last year when she first found out, it would have been around all the unknowns.
Yeah.
And that fear and that anxiety that was making her feel worse and keeping her up at night. And, you know, and the unknowns continued because they would tell her one thing, and then when she get to the next step, they'd give her a whole nother scenario of what that next step looked like. And she's like, well, you didn't tell me that. And so it went on like that for a year. And then once she's gotten through all of her surgeries, now, because she never looked sick and she didn't have to do chemo because they found it early enough, now she's being treated like, well, that's not really cancer. And so that's brought on a whole nother bunch of things.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got to find out where she's at with it, and it'll go in stages.
Okay. No, that's really helpful. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, now you also have another resource if you do end up working with her, since Diana's
please
some experience and
thank you.
Similar case. Yeah. So
I do have something to add, even though I came in late. I think I know what it was. It's somebody that you're not close to, right?
It's my husband's aunt. Just got diagnosed with breast cancer.
Did you tell me, I know you told me your mother-in-law was not super fond of your relationship, so does the aunt follow along with the mother-in-law?
No, I'm not. I've only met his aunt one time in person.
Okay.
Yeah, or maybe I've met her twice, but I don't talk to her or anything. My mother-in-law just started calling me after 12 years of marriage, so.
I was worried that it was your mother-in-law, and if she already had a predisposition about her relationship on how it would actually flow. But if it's aunt, it might be a different story.
Yeah, I mean, the only weird thing could be is if they're sisters, and if they discuss it amongst themselves and then they don't like the outcome of whatever, then it would be, my fault. But they're in Florida and Georgia, and I'm not even worried about that.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
So Mary, since you're late joining us, welcome in. I had everybody start the call today with one word to summarize what you need tonight, and a limiting belief that you've either worked with somebody or you've noticed about yourself.
One word with help with would be multitasking. Limiting belief that I have worked with is being deserving mostly of money, being worth the money.
We had that come up with a couple people already.
I see you talking, Norma, but you're muted.
Yeah. She can make her gestures. Yeah. Well, do we need to do any interventions on a belief or money before we move to the cases, or maybe we should just move to the cases? What do you think?
We can move on. I'm late, and I understand that.
Okay. So let's go in the order that I put them on the paper. So we'll start with Vicki, then Norma, then Liz. So Vicki, your case is on the Facebook page. Okay. You want me to pull it up? I read over it really quickly. I couldn't see everything real well with cursive writing. I have a little bit of trouble sometimes reading everything too, but maybe you can share the key points.
Oh, I was trying to print.
So I think you use, and is this somebody you're going to do multiple sessions with, or is this someone you just did one session with so far?
I've known her for years because she's come here for Reiki and massage.
Got it. Okay.
she's had like 2 sessions of the EFT.
Mm-hmm.
I know she wants further sessions, but she's I'll have to talk to her about that, because I think that would absolutely be fine. But she wants to like tack it on to like her massage and Reiki session, or do it like 30 minutes prior to that. And 30 minutes isn't quite enough. So I'm going to see if maybe she can, if she's interested in having more sessions, just having one session separate and apart just for EFT.
Yeah.
Because,
Mm-hmm.
because she really does good work, and she wants to do work, and you know, she has certainly the issues, you know, she's got a lot of life changes, but I just think, you know, it needs to be separate.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
So,
I would think if you were going to do them together, I would do the massage afterward, rather, because, you know, at the end of the session, you want to leave someone feeling relaxed, and you don't want to get them all worked up after
yeah,
the
and we did, but it's just like the 30 minutes prior to that wasn't enough. Now the first session was just EFT, so and then when we did the second 30-minute session prior to her massage and her Reiki, she wanted 90 minutes for massage and Reiki. It wasn't quite enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But anyway, with her first session, her presenting issues were just feeling very overwhelmed, a lot of stressors at work. These have, since I've met with her in the second session, these have gotten better. But everyone looking to her for answers and just feeling very, very overwhelmed. And this is a lady that has some heart issues. So she's just feeling like all of this is kind of like strangling her. And at times she, you know, she feels like she just can't breathe from the weight of, you know, demands on her.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of, I still have this on, I think I put this on the wrong sheet, Betsy. I used this for months 1 to 4. But anyway, she's very motivated for change, tired of healing, or tired of hurting and feeling tense. And she does have insight to, you know, these feelings creating, you know, playing into her heart issues. And she has some fear about that. I mean, she has some fear about, she's in cardiac rehab now, but she has some fear about how these emotional issues are affecting her physical. So she's aware of the interplay there.
Mm-hmm.
Did some basic tapping on some fear of her heart problems. And also she's got some guilt for setting boundaries. She has 2 daughters, an 11-year-old and 17-year-old. And she's married. There's a husband there that, you know, she's looking to hopefully separate from him, because she feels that he's just not been supportive, and it's a stress being with him. Some confusion about setting boundaries, you know, some anger about the demands on her, and also some fear about if they sell, she wants to sell the house, she wants to in the future sell the house and you know, get a divorce, and she's concerned about she feels the anger that the girls have towards her about that. There's some abandonment issues in there. She has some abandonment in her early life.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge there was, I found a great, on YouTube, I found a great session that helped me a little bit in terms of aspects, because there's so much to work with her. It was challenging in tracking the many aspects, and it felt like, and when, you know, when she was upset, you know, I would just kind of gently, you know, say, let's tap on this, you know, and bring her level down. But what I'm learning to do is, like, sometimes with these aspects, it's like one aspect leads to another, and then I'm thinking, okay, where did we start here? Mm-hmm. And so I'm learning myself just to kind of stay with one thing there and just make a little note about the aspects, and then you can always come back
So have you worked on any specific events with her, or is it mostly like general feelings? And because it sounded to me like you were still kind of exploring the general information from her intake and maybe a physical symptom.
Okay, we worked on fear of her heart problems, so there were specifics there.
But was there a specific event like or a story with that fear, or was it more or less just the way she was experiencing fear of something in the future rather than?
Well, she had a heart attack last year, and
Yeah.
she's
So
currently.
did you go through that specific event in terms of tapping to revisit it?
Just kind of stayed with the feeling about her fear because she's had prior heart problems prior to that with a pacemaker.
So that, I mean, there's a whole lot of specific event information there that could be explored. Because,
Okay.
I mean, basically what you're challenged to do is take her on a journey back in time. To say, we're going to go back to the first incident that suggested something was wrong with your heart, and if she's filling out, or you can help her get that personal peace procedure, how many specific events have there been that were upsetting with respect to your heart? And when you think back to each one of them, is it a 0 or is it something other than a 0? I think you can do her some real good by just clearing some of that.
Specific incidents related to her heart.
Yeah, because there's fear, there's probably things a doctor told her, or sometimes it's the worried look that a family member gives you when you're in the middle of something going wrong. So it can be a lot of different things, but it's all part of the picture, and you can give her relief by cleaning up the past.
Okay.
And you are right, looking at all the aspects. You might find that what I want you to avoid doing is, it's real easy to just go into this thing called stress or this thing called worry about my heart when it doesn't have it's too general. It's a very general thing, and you can tap, and they'll start feeling a little bit better, but then it'll come back in the next session. It'll still be that worry feeling or whatever, because it wasn't specific enough. Okay. But sometimes you do have to stay on general because they're so worked up. If they're, above a 7 and it's a general thing, then you've got to start there to help ease them into, feeling comfortable with you, getting an early win by relaxing. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a question about that, Betsy. This is about another case, but it's a question that I have in terms of the specific, getting specific. If someone starts off by saying, one of my issues, I don't feel worthy. I mean, that's a core belief, right? But it's so broad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what do you do? Just ask questions?
Tell me about a time. Tell me about a time in your life when you remember not being worthy, a scene in your life, that you can get it started. Or if and you can even ask, how many scenes in your life do you remember not feeling worthy? Well, I might say, oh, there were 100 different moments I didn't feel worthy or whatever. But you also ask questions about who is it that made you feel unworthy? Because then you get into specific of, it was always my mother. My mother, berated me, or maybe it was a principal or a teacher, or maybe it was a spouse.
Mm-hmm.
We don't. So part of this is asking the questions: who, what, where, why.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
When did it start? What's the earliest memory? The earliest memory of feeling unworthy. And if the that SUDS level suddenly gets elevated because they're getting too close to it, then you back away. You might have them only look at a movie title of that scene. And again, make it safe for them. How far away from the movie marquee do you need to stand to feel safe, even looking at the title? and tapping to the title of that scene rather than
Mhm.
rather than opening the theater door and going into it, just thinking about a title and guessing what time that is. So again, this is the basic stuff,
Mhm.
but we have to gently go there. So it takes some calm detective work.
Okay.
I mean, she sounds like she's a challenging person that really needs your help.
She
And
does. Before we ended, I checked out with her support systems, and she does have a therapist. She does have cardiac rehab. She does yoga. She does regular meditation groups. So she's got some supports out there. But
is she willing to do homework? Does she have time, or is she so overwhelmed with the kids and everything else?
no, she would be willing to do homework.
Yeah.
She filled out her questionnaire, and brought it.
Good. Yeah, because I mean, just having her tap every day and reflecting on, and find out what she tapped on her own and what she's experiencing. Part of this is just teaching her how to manage her feelings and her emotions in the moment. If she's going through a divorce, it's not going to get much easier before it gets harder too. Yeah.
Yeah, the guilt is a big thing for her in taking care of her own needs, and not, taking care of everybody else. But the girls are, pretty self-sufficient. They're older, and, and then there's an alcohol issue in here too. So that's another support system for her, is her AA. So she's doing well with that. And she really doesn't, her family unit, the two girls and the husband, they're not real supportive of her taking care of herself.
Yeah.
Even with the heart issue. So
yeah. Well, you're going to learn a lot working with her. So I wish you success with the next few cases. Any other questions for us, or any comments from the others for Vicki? Well, good for you. She really needs you. And I think you're well qualified to help her. And she's got other support systems. So good, checking that out, and you're going to make a difference in her life. Okay, let's see. Norma's next. She's got to unmute herself.
Okay, my client is a 24-year-old woman. She came to me with chronic anxiety, and we assessed it at a 6 SUD level, and I asked her, think back, when was the first time you remember feeling anxious like this? And apparently it went back to her as an infant. She screamed and cried all the time. They think that her mother, in utero, her mother had a severe shock trauma, and so from flood of cortisol into her body or whatever. And so she doesn't remember not being anxiety ridden. So I asked her to, think about some of the, what was the first time you remember being high anxiety in a social situation? And she basically said, like age 6 and first grade. Actually, I think it should have been age 5. She was in kindergarten, and just having to, get up and ask to go to the restroom or something like that would just bring her to tears. And so she missed a lot of school in that early year. And then when she was in grade school, she couldn't miss school every time she cried. But she, I believe, did spend a lot of time in the nurse's office tears. And the parents just didn't really know what to do with her. As she got older, she did receive counseling. But through the years, and I've been working with her for about a month and a half now. So I've had 5 sessions. And she basically just does not remember a time when she was not stressed out and full of anxiety. And as she got into school, she was a very good student. So as she got into school, she excelled as long as she didn't have to speak up and talk to anybody or be called upon. And of course, she was called upon, and it was very stressful for her. So her SUD level was at a 6. So we started with what was the first time you remember being riddled with high anxiety, and that went back to something that issue in kindergarten. And so we tapped on that. She was able to remember a few of the details, just I think from her mother. And so we got her down for, some reversals, and I had her do cross crawl. And then we started back in, and that kind of went fairly quickly to a 0. And I say quickly, I mean, this was probably all in about 35 minutes, so it wasn't that quick. Mm-hmm. I also asked her, what was the worst time she ever felt the anxiety, and that was in middle school when she had to give a book report. Mm-hmm. And she fell apart and ran crying from the room. And she said it was a small parochial school, so there were only like 7 kids in her class. So, and they were all kind of friendly. So it wasn't as bad as it might have been if she'd been in a classroom full of 30 kids or something. And everybody afterwards was so sweet to her. And, they all reassured her that, and I actually did too. And you're always safe in this room. Everybody here loves you. We all get nervous, and they did that kind of thing. So we tapped through while she kind of told that story, and that brought that down to a 0 at that point. And then, but each time, she pulled up a memory of when it was really bad. She would start out. Some of them she started out as high as 8, and I think no, wasn't a 9. But so 8s were pretty common, and we just hit a bunch of these different moments in time where she felt this way. But we started looking at the limiting beliefs, and one of them was that I'm not safe. And so we went through the family history. Is there a time when you felt unsafe with your family or with the parent or the sibling or aunt, uncle, cousin, whatever? And she said no, she couldn't think of anything. Sent home a list of questions with her. And even though she doesn't live at home anymore, she went over that list with her mom to see if there was anything that she might have been too young to remember. And she said, no, everything it was a nice family. Nobody ever bothered her, in any way. So the point I was trying to get to is, where did this anxiety originate? And that's when we realized that it originated quite possibly in utero. And so through muscle testing, we did get a very strong yes. And so we kind of went back in time, and we tapped on, because what we did was we used muscle testing to figure out what month of gestation it was. And then we started with that at the beginning of that month and just tapped on her anxiety throughout that month. And it was really kind of strange, but because, it's not like I can guess what was going on in a fetus's mind in the 5th month. But what we did was we tapped on the trauma that her during that time. Mm-hmm. And we did that. Basically, that was surrogate tapping. I don't know if this stacks up, but basically we were surrogate tapping for the mother, but with her in mind and tapping for her also, because at that point they were one.
Mm-hmm.
Theoretically, I guess. Does that make sense to you guys?
That makes sense.
Okay, all right. So we're tapping on that, and that we really got it to spike pretty high. And right at the 5th month, which was when the mom said she thought it was, and I think it was a car accident or something, and they were almost killed. And the mom just went into this huge, just massive panic, and all the terror, basically kind of a big trauma capsule for the mom. So as we tapped through the gestational issue, you know, the incident with the car and the trucks that almost killed them, and we brought it down, but it took, we were into the 2nd session by the time we got that far. And so we got it down to around a 2. I'm trying to condense this a little, but we looked at just different limiting beliefs, and you know, the biggest one for her was the world's not a safe place. We spent some time tapping on safety, both in general, but primarily for her personal safety. And, you know, can you remember a time when you didn't feel safe? And for her, that was a lot of the times when she had the high anxiety. And so there were a lot of unsafe moments for her. But you gotta love that generalizing effect, because after we worked on about 8 different times where she felt very unsafe, those fears and terror and everything really kind of fell away for her. But again, this was over the course of several sessions. And along with her, one of the side benefits of her high anxiety was constipation. And we worked on that a little bit later, but basically, and we still have probably another couple of sessions, her anxiety dropped to, like I said, a 2, and then we started working on individual emotions that she felt. And those were hopelessness, terror, panic, you know, she was always in a state of fear. I mean, I feel like her fight or flight center was highly activated as a child. And so that's actually something else we're going to work on, is calming her amygdala and that, but that'll be later on. And, but she's a delightful young lady, brilliant girl. And, you know, she's had health issues because she's not been emotionally sound.
Right.
And and then the constipation was like, you know, the end of the world for her, because it's very debilitating for her with her work. And she works in daycare. She doesn't work with adults because she can't really, she's afraid to work with adults. She'll feel like it'll be too much pressure or too much anxiety. She loves little children, so she's a preschool teacher. And she is, you know, the constipation is a big deal because you can't just get up and leave when you're, you know, one of the only teachers in there at times. And so we're going to be starting to work on that and find out what the emotions are behind that, and when was the first time, you know, the worst time, and all that. But by the end of the 2nd session, her anxiety levels were pretty low, but then every once in a while something would happen and they would spike back up. So then, you know, we'd tap down that one and for that event, and we were going back in time with her recalling incidents where, you know, here was a time when my anxiety was up to here, and you know, we would tap on that and all the events, and basically she was telling the story, and I was guiding her through that. So, but she's making really great strides, and I'm really excited for her because she's a real sweet young lady.
Well, I hope you
Horrible thing,
are using,
you know, that
form with her, and you know, get some of her feedback in into your case files
Yeah,
too.
definitely will.
I think
Yeah.
she'd be a great case for one of your final write-ups.
Yeah.
And you're seeing her live, so you don't
Mhm.
have a video with her, I'm assuming.
No, but I could, I'll see if she'll do one with me. You know, it's just so, you know, we stop and think about what we do, and it's not what we do, it's what our bodies do for us. And to see somebody's life change,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so beautifully. And you know, she's got a ways to go, but thankfully she's highly invested in this process, and her mom is helping her out. And so she really just, you know, she wants to get completely well, and she wants to be completely done with it. So it still spikes on her at times, like if she has to go to an event with her fiance or boyfriend or whatever, she gets anxious. But she is now tapping before she
Good. Very good.
so.
All right. Well, we got to move. We got to keep moving because we have a case from Liz. Any final questions or comments for Norma before we
I do.
subject? Yeah, Mary?
Norma, how did she come to you? Was she a referral, or how did she find you?
She was a referral from another girl who has really high anxiety, and that I had worked with, and they happen to be friends in high school. So yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Norma,
Mm-hmm.
the thing that kept coming up for me as you're talking about her
Yeah.
is how did that accident affect the way her mom parented her?
You know, I hadn't even thought about that, Diana. Thank you. We'll have to look at that. Um, you know, there's no telling. I mean, the mom went into a fear state. The baby got dumped with cortisol in the womb, and who knows? But yeah, no, that's a great question.
I was going to ask you too, have you used the word, loss of control, or that I know with anxiety people I've worked with, and everybody's different, but I know lots of rounds of tapping went into the whole notion that I lose my sense of control when
Yeah.
like going into an anxiety, just that attack just takes over. That's that automatic.
Yeah.
And, have you worked on that?
Um, we have worked on it. I didn't think of the control issue, but we have worked on the suddenness of
Yeah,
a panic
unexpected,
attack.
and it
Yeah.
happens at the worst time. And
Yeah. We basically tapped through like the whole situation, like 3 or 4 of them, where she was at an event or had to go to an event, tapped on the emotions beforehand, when she got there, during what she felt, and then circle all the way around until she, was leaving the event and then getting home and that kind of thing. So, but yeah, no, the control didn't come up, but that's a good thing for me I've already written it down, so I'll check in with her on that.
Yeah, and maybe that's not part of the equation.
It might be.
Heard it so many times. Have to mention that.
Knows.
Yeah,
it's a good thing to check though. So thanks.
Okay, Liz, we better turn it over to you before we run out of time here.
Okay, so this is the first time I used the new form, and I'll just go through the different sections, and unless you just want me to get to
Well, give us the big picture. I like that balance wheel, and I couldn't read everything on your form to figure out where she was weak and where she was stronger. So maybe you could give us a little capsule and just describe her as a client so we understand.
Yes, so she's 42. She's a stay-at-home mom, but she does have a freelance writing, a master's in freelance writing. She does do some from home. And she's got 2 kids, ages 4 and 7. She has been with her husband for quite some time, and they're out in California, which she is from Boston originally, so she doesn't have any family in the area, and but she did say that I asked her, about her friends, and she did have some emergency surgery last year, and her small group of friends that she's made from just her kids' school and things were willing to step up. So she does have some support there if she would need. And then on her wheel, I'll get to that later, the wheel was interesting for me. I guess I'll tell you why, because and she's also on a emetophobia person. So that's why she was originally coming to me. Although her intake form had some really big events, like her father passing away and things like that, that she, like, you could tell have just affected her. And I could tell when I talked to her on the phone that she was very timid. And then when I met her in person over the Zoom this past weekend, it was very much like I thought. She was very soft-spoken. I could barely hear her talking. She played with her hair for the entire time when we weren't tapping, and was like, she was anxious. And so I could tell, even though she says she doesn't have anxiety, she says it's just depression. She seems very anxious to me. And her wheel was way higher than what I would think, because of just my first impression of her personality and things. And her spirituality, she put at a 6. Her relationships, she put at a 6. Her career, she put at a 4. Her contribution, she put at a 3. Her finances, she put at a 6. Her health, she put at a 6. And fun, she put at a 7. So I felt like, yeah, I felt like those were, she was different after our session, which was like at the very end of the session. I wish I could have recorded it, but it was our first session. I didn't want to overload her with anything. So hopefully she'll let me, but she was like smiling at the end. But when we first started talking, she was very, that's why the wheel was, I thought it would be way lower than what she gave it. So I don't know I'll reassess after the 4th session, but it seemed higher than it should have been for the way that I perceive her emotional state and stuff. Just, I don't know if I even am allowed to say that, but that's just,
I noticed one of those questions on the 4th session form is, what are your hypotheses about this person? What's really going on? Which you wrote, I suspect something might be connected to her father's death. And
yeah.
So early in her life. Well, yes, there probably is quite a bit there.
Yeah, she had you could tell her self-esteem was very lacking, which she said in her intake form, and things like that. But she had some what is it called? I didn't even look this up, but it's a transcranial magnetic stimulation she's had for depression, which I don't know what that is. I have to look it up. And that's the only therapy that she's.
Vicki can probably. You worked in a psych ward? Did your ward use trans?
What, me, Betsy?
Yeah. Yeah, because
that's a term I've never heard of.
I've heard of the electroshock.
Yeah, but I have too, but I don't know what that's called. And
I think because my sister she was being treated, and I know at some point in time someone was talking with her about having treatments with the magnets, but then it's less. It hasn't been studied as much, so. But I think it's similar to how they use the shock treatment for depression.
Well, we didn't talk about that. She is taking some medication that she's only been on for about a month for depression that she says seems to be helping. Her major limiting beliefs were that she wasn't safe, that she's afraid, that she's scared. She was very willing to engage in EFT, even though she'd never used it before, and she'd only known a little bit about. I sent her a PDF of an EFT book from the AMET website before our call. That's really all she knew about it. And my assessment of her energy state was she was very soft-spoken, timid, no self-esteem. Resources and support. She had some friends locally. It seemed like she had a supportive husband, but no family in the area. Reversals or resistance suspected or treated. Yes, I do suspect that there are some reversals, but there wasn't, nothing has been treated. We didn't get that far in this session. And so we taught her presenting problem was emetophobia. I had her, she discussed about how she'd gone through the month of January being on high alert of sickness and stuff like that, but she felt like I said, do you want to tap on any of the situations that happened there? Was anyone sick? And she said, no one in my immediate family was sick, so I'm not sure if I should tap on that because it's been in the past. And I said, let's talk about the very first episode that you remember feeling unsafe when this happened. So she could remember back to when she was 3, and she told me about an episode when she was waiting to be picked up from preschool, and she was sitting in Boston in their snowsuits in the winter. They were all ready to get picked up, and this kid a few people down from her just hunched over on the floor and just threw up. And she just remembers being horrified. She gave it an 8 on her SUDS after she told me about it. And so we tapped about about the, she was afraid, she felt out of control. Why did it happen? How she was scared. And after we did a few rounds of, she said she was down to 6, and I said, do you feel it anywhere in your body? Is there a feeling when, talk about that? We talked about the same little situation again. Tell me about this boy, and you're sitting there, and she said, I feel it in my stomach. I really feel like a pit in my stomach. So we tapped on that feeling in my stomach. I feel like at this sinking pit feeling in my stomach. It makes me scared, all of that we tapped on. And then when we checked in again, she was a 5, and I said, is that feeling still in your stomach? And she said, my head has all this hot energy in it, and like it feels like burning or tingling. And I said, that's good. I said, let's just tap on that energy until it goes away. So we tapped just on this warm tingling feeling in my head for 3 rounds, and then it went away. And after that, she said she was about a 5, and we went through the same situation again, the same scenario. And I couldn't get her down past a 4.5, but it was really when I saw this transformation of getting this energy out of her head, it was like her whole neck she was looking up when it happened, but her whole neck did this funny thing, and I got goosebumps when it happened. So there was this, and I don't think she realized, and she said, yeah, it went away, but it still feels funny in my stomach. So something definitely changed. There was some sort of a stuck energy there that I feel really changed because I saw it. But it was towards the end of our session then, and she was still only at a 4.5, and we talked about, I said, what impact is this having on your life? And she said, it just it's less joy in my life because I have this problem, because I'm afraid. And the homework that I gave her was, I said, she didn't seem to know what I said. Would you be willing to tap? And she said, but I don't know what to say. And I said, you don't have to say anything. You can just tap. So she said, oh, okay. And she said, where do I do it? And I said, anywhere you feel comfortable. I said, I tap in the shower all the time. And, wherever your kids I said, I tap at a red light, I'll just tap whatever. And then I told her I said, you could even tap in bed. And if you don't want to disturb your husband, you could just, like you told us, just hold and breathe.
Mhm.
And so she was very willing to do that. And then I also told her to work on her personal peace procedure and write down some more events that she could think of from when she was young about emetophobia. Although I do have a very, very, I'm not real sure where to, I really know she has some issues with self-esteem and stuff that are stemming from her father's death when she was 13, but I don't know where I should go. So that was my question for you. It's like, should I keep going with the emetophobia?
So I guess I would stick with this 3-year-old scene because you got it down a little bit, but you didn't get it down below 2.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I would go back to that and, just see if she can conjure up any more aspects of that memory, even if she's working on physical things. Really, what did she conclude because that happened? What did that little girl decide that day? Those are some good questions to ask. And, what does that scene mean to her? And if there's ways to test, what's released, I think you have to just open it up again and make it safe. But she might have had some awakenings to more about that after the session, and maybe going down a little bit. But you want to get that scene down below it too. I think that's your first goal because that's where you started, and you want to give her some relief there, and then she said she has depression, but it's funny, it doesn't really sound like real depression to me.
It doesn't. That's why it's more. It's not.
Well, it's complicated, but it's a fear that it's a little soul that is stuck. There's this 3-year-old, this scared 3-year-old running the show. Maybe that's what's happening. But she's going to need to tell you what's significant. You have your own theory, and you can certainly ask, because you could say, "Isn't it interesting? Your dad died about the same time you had this incident with someone throwing up at school." And did she say whether that happened before or after her dad passed?
Well, this incident was when she was 3, that we tapped on. She was 3 years old. Her dad died when she was 13.
Oh, 13. I think I saw the 3 and I thought it was the same age. Okay. All right.
So that's what, how can I get up to that? Because we'd be, I don't know. I mean, I think it would be more sessions than 4 to get there.
Well, and if things started presenting at age 13, I'd be much more curious about going into that. It sounds like some things were happening before 13, and that might be a better place to explore to give her some success. Were there other incidents with this throwing up stuff at the age? And that's what she came to you for in the beginning too. So honor that. That's in. But you can explore other stuff as you work with it. But I'd stick to that. Yeah. I usually ask my clients to give me 3 things they want to work on. So I have some room outside of the main thing that they came for.
Right, and that's what in the intake form she wrote. In the intake form, she talked all about her dad. I mean, like a lot.
Okay. Well, then that gives you permission
that she's had no self-esteem or confidence since her dad died. He was her everything and all this stuff. And that after she wrote all that, I thought it was funny that I said, what are the 3 most important things you want to, do during coaching? I want to reduce my anxiety around vomiting. That's all. Then, so it was like she didn't, most of the other emetophobia clients are talking about specific emetophobia things, not about, you know, a major trauma of a death so much. So that's why it made me think that it's not, you know, it's much more than just the emetophobia.
Yeah. Well, that's to be explored with her then. I think she gave you permission to explore it further. So it's more than just intake. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But help her get over that 3-year-old scene. That would be really nice to have that.
Yeah.
And where we went. Any other questions from the rest of you for Liz? So I'm going to give her a thumbs up for using the new form. So if you haven't used the new form yet, take a look at what Liz did with this case, because now you know the case a little bit better too.
Oh, and she did give me her feedback.
Yeah, I saw you got some pretty strong feedback from her.
Yeah, and the how could I make this a better experience for you? She said, could you be a magician? Just go away.
Give me candy.
What did her dad?
So funny because she was laughing at the end of the session, whereas she looked like a totally different person when we started.
Yeah, and that's one of the beautiful things about having the recording, even to show the client, you know, how they look at the beginning, everything with their posture. I suspect her voice was much quieter at the beginning than the end, and also, you know, to go back and watch it to see how, you know, see the releases, like the thing you said with her neck, and
so cool.
You know, so you have to get over the fear of the recording stuff.
I have to tap about the fear of the recording.
Yeah. But
what did her dad die of?
He had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Oh,
So did he have chemo and was throwing up?
She did not. When I spoke to her about her mother, or about her, you know, on the phone before we even scheduled a session or she did the intake form, she talked about her mother being a very violent vomiter.
Oh.
So
she's talking about everybody but her dad.
Yeah, I don't know. There are a lot of layers, I think.
If she knows her mother's a violent vomiter, there's probably specific events right there. Like, how would you know that? I don't think I
no, she would have
to vomited. That's funny. Not funny, but there's more. There's more to explore there, obviously.
But Diana, that's a good assumption, though, because there could have been that, and maybe she doesn't even remember in her conscious that there would be.
That may have triggered, and what she's remembering is way back to the 3-year-old, when really what set her off was when her dad was sick. And
she could have been. I'm gonna write this down.
The tie-in.
Or if she has siblings, maybe her mom threw up a lot in front of her when she was pregnant.
She doesn't have. She's an only child.
Interesting.
So with that new form, we fill it out from the information that they put on their questionnaire, right?
Yes.
And then do we ask them any like spaces that we want to fill in more? We do.
You can do whatever you like, within that form and beyond that form. But that form gives you a lot of structure for when you have your official case write-up. It gives you a lot to set up the whole scene when you're writing up the case, and to also have that feedback at the end too from the client. That's real world. That's important.
That's something you asked them at the end of the session, Liz?
I did, and I asked her about the wheel, and I showed her. I said, I'm going to use this form, that my trainer gave me, and this is the first time I'm using this, so bear with me, and and then I said after the session, I said, would you mind answering some feedback for me? And she was, they're perfectly willing.
So you just did verbal, and you want to get that feedback as soon as possible, and I would encourage you to do it at the end of the session, get it right then. And even, make that part of your agreement to work together, that they agree to give you feedback at the end of each session. That's how you pre-frame it for them. This is what we're doing. This is how we start. And, toward the end of the session, I'm going to help you calm down. And then, the last thing we do is I'm going to ask you for your feedback. And there'll be 3 questions. They're easy, that they just rate you on a number scale. Okay. So it shouldn't take too much out of your session. And they'll be honest with you. They'll be extra nice, especially if you're not charging them.
Mhm.
All right. Well, we've gone over our allotted time. You're probably all tired. So I just want to remind you that our next call is February 25th. And I was trying to remember, I may have already changed these dates, but in March, I needed to change dates because we're normally on the second and the fourth week, but I'm changing March to the first and the third week for our 7 o'clock calls because of when I'm going to be out of town for the Matrix reimprinting EFT seminar. So make sure you have those marked on your calendars too.
Sorry, March 1st and what?
4th and March 18th.
Oh, March 4th and 18th.
Yeah,
Okay.
'cause it was going to be the 11th and the 25th, but
Yeah, that works out well for
I
me.
didn't want us to have to be 2 weeks in a row, so this way
Mm-hmm.
it's easier. Okay.
And then in May, it's on May 6th, right? May 6th.
And May 6th instead of the 13th.
Okay.
Betsy, my mom is having a knee replacement surgery on the 25th in Youngstown, so I have to go there.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to be on, but I'll let you know.
And you can be on the phone, you know, if you can't
Okay.
screen, you can call in on
Okay.
a phone number. I think originally when I posted all our dates, there was a phone number.
Yes, there's a phone, and I'm going to do my best to be on unless there was an emergency or she was, you know.
And all of you, if you miss a call, it's not the end of the world. I just expect you to listen to the recording. So you can miss these calls if you have to. You guys have been doing really good. Your attendance has been stellar compared to classes before that I will not mention. Okay. It's been really good. All right. So you should have 12 sessions total by the end of January. I think you all should be close to that. And then I'm going to give you like a tracker next month so you can see how many sessions per month you're going to be aiming for. I don't like to scare you too early. All right. But I think you're going to be trying to get another 12 within the next month or so. Okay. So don't be afraid. I think it's 8 and then 12. So but you know, your 4-session cases, you're going to start building. And you should be finding your certified practitioner to work with. So keep working on that. And I'm still missing videos. I asked for videos, so I put your name down if I don't have a video from you yet. And this is more or less, it's your chance for some feedback. And all I might do is say, wow, you're great. And if I see something that needs a shift in some way, I'll mention it. There's many ways to do EFT properly, so this is your chance.
Vicki would have had hers today because we were supposed to tap and she was going to record, but my boys are both home with strep throat, so she was nice enough to want to reschedule. So hopefully we could do that quick. Vicki, just let me know.
Okay.
I'm just reminding you.
I can do it if you need me
something
to.
I'm offering to do that I didn't guarantee I would even do for you. So this is your chance to get early feedback. And, you know, it's time that I spend one-on-one with you. So I spend that time reviewing the recording and then we have a call to talk about it. Okay?
Okay.
It's private, so nobody else needs to know. All right?
All right.
Okay. So, oh, and I am reminding you, your client agreement and your consent form. Have you developed your own or are you using programming ones? If you're using the program ones, just tell me that's what you're using.
That's what I'm using.
Yes, some people have practices that are a little different than the basic kind of coaching practice form I gave you. So if you're going to use the ones from Energy Makeover EFT certification, that's fine. If you're using something different than that because you have a reason for it, then you let me know what you changed and why. Okay? I just want to make sure you're using a form. Okay? So that's part of the business structure. Keeps you out of trouble. gives you some good documentation in your files too. Okay?
Yep.
All right. Any parting comments? We didn't tap. Should we tap before we go to bed? I think so. What should we tap about?
Good night's sleep? I don't know.
Good night's sleep? Should we do all pat? Maybe we just tap. No, let's see. Even though it's been a long day.
Even though it's been a long day.
Long day.
That's the way it is.
The way it
The
is.
way it is.
Even though it's been a long day.
Even though it's been a long day.
Okay.
And it's not done yet.
And it's not,
Not done yet.
Maybe I didn't get the clarity I wanted tonight.
Maybe I didn't get the clarity I wanted tonight.
I can accept what happened
I can accept what happened.
because that's the way to.
That's the way it is.
That's a way to end the even though statement. So even though
Even though.
I'm not feeling clear enough yet,
No, I'm not
Not
feeling
feeling clear enough yet.
Yeah,
it's okay. That's the way it is.
that's
It's
okay.
okay. That's the way it is.
I accept it.
And
And
I
I
accept
accept
it.
it.
And and just say I can relax about this.
I can
Relax,
relax.
about this.
'Cause that's the way it is.
That's the
That's
way
the way it is.
I can relax about a lot of things
I can relax about a lot of things.
because that's the way it is.
'Cause
That's the way it is.
I accept it.
I accept it.
And I can sleep tonight
and
I
I
can
can
sleep
sleep
tonight.
tonight
without worrying obsessively
without worrying
obsessively.
obsessively.
because it'll still be here tomorrow.
'Cause it'll still
I'll
be
still be here tomorrow.
I can accept that.
And I can accept that.
Even though
Even though
Even though
I might not be focused tomorrow.
I might not be focused tomorrow.
I can accept that.
I can accept that.
I can accept that.
Even though I have no control over my amount of focus.
No control over my amount of focus.
I might be able to focus.
I might be
Might be able to focus.
And that could be the way it is.
And that could be
That could be the way it is.
that could be good.
Even though I'm not in charge of much of anything.
Even though I'm not in charge of much of anything.
I might have a good day too.
I'm gonna
I'm
have
gonna
a
have a
good
good
day,
day too.
And that'll be the way it is.
and that'll be the way it
The way it
is.
is.
And even though
And even though
I'm always picking apart something
I'm always picking
Picking
apart
apart
something
something.
instead of being grateful
being grateful.
for what is,
for what is,
I can appreciate what is.
I can appreciate what is.
I just watched a video today where yawning is a good sign.
It is.
It's
Yeah.
You know that? Sign's good. Okay. I don't know. That was silly. But tapping makes us feel good. So I thought we should do a little tapping.
Yeah.
Next time,
Good.
one of you lead us on just tapping will get you clarity. Those cross crawls will get you clarity. There are many ways to clarity, but when we tap, we really do. We take away that automatic response of our amygdala. We deactivate our amygdala, and that is where the stress starts, and that's where the trauma capsule gets triggered. And we might as well practice just helping our poor little amygdala relax. And, really the bigger issue is loving and accepting yourself. So this week's Valentine's Day, and it's easy to have a pity party at times. And, one of my favorite rounds of tapping is, even though I'm having this pity party, I choose to accept myself and this horrible situation that I'm fretting about, even though I'm having a pity party, I love and accept myself. And, just, this pity party and just, and all the things that are going wrong and just obsess about it. And tap, 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 tap. And then pretty soon you're like, I am such an idiot. And you can start tapping to the things that you're grateful for. And you can realize, or you might just end up tapping to say, well, everybody has a pity party. I'm normal. I'm just like everybody else. And that can be such a peaceful thing to end with, even if you haven't solved the world's problems, to realize that you're not alone. You're not weird. You're human. And to end it with that, I'm human. Yay! Everybody has pity parties. I'm better off than a lot of people on this planet. I'm going to own that. That's the truth, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for your time tonight, ladies. You're doing well.
Thank you.
Don't worry about things. And if you really do need to talk with me privately about how things are going, if you need help getting clients, you know, or if those people of Nancy's aren't responding, I can go back to Nancy. You can go back to Nancy. Nancy will get after them. But again, this is all kind of the honor system, so we have to take what happens. Take a tap on that. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well done. Have a
All
good
right.
one.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Bye.